because I'm public enemy number one.
I'm Mike Marza, and the second week of testimony is now underway in the federal sex trafficking trial against Sean Diddy Combs. Today, several of Cassie Ventura's former friends were on the stand, as well as Diddy's former personal assistant. We're also getting a look tonight at some of the photo evidence the jury saw in this case, depicting injuries, drugs, and baby oil. Yes, the infamous baby oil we have heard so much about. In the lead up to this trial, we're going to talk with legal contributor Bernarda Villalona in just a moment. But first up, Eyewitness News reporter Darla Miles with a recap of what happened in court.
The 4-day testimony of Cassie Ventura.
Wait a minute.
Get him.
I don't know what it is. Whatever it is, it's loose. It's all over the place.
The Sean Combs sex trafficking and racketeering trial in the rear view. But the testimony of the 3 witnesses Monday, all about Ventura. Returning to the stand, Don Richard, a cast member of the show The Making of the Band, and a member of 2 singing groups founded by Combs. Prosecutors asking, was Mr. Combs made aware of these discussions? Richard responding, yes. How did he respond? Richard telling the court that Combs told her, stay the expletive out of my relationship. Y'all expletives are here to work. Stay out of my expletive relationship. The singer also testifying that after a 2009 skillet attack against Ventura, Combs told her the next day that Cassie was okay, and if we said anything, people could go missing. Prosecutors asking Richard, what do you take that to mean? Richard answering, that we could die.
Yeah.
But attorneys for Combs sharply pointing out inconsistencies in Richard's account, asking if she knows the difference between hitting her with the skillet and attempting to hit her with the skillet or sitting it down.
Nope.
Defense attorneys asking, you have about 4 different recollections of what happened that day. Richard responding, no, I recall to the best of my ability.
Bitch, you a lie.
And as for the alleged threat, asking why Richard just told federal prosecutors about it for the first time last week. You didn't tell federal prosecutors that people go missing, a comment that you testified you could die. You don't remember that? Richard responding, no, I don't know about the notes that were taken.
That's suspicious.
Also Monday, federal prosecutors releasing evidence in the case for the very first time. Baby oil in Ziploc bags, pictures of Ventura's injuries, including a fat lip after the 2016 hotel assault.
Now we're joined by ABC News legal contributor Bernarda Villalona. You know, we were talking about that moment right there in court. You were in the courtroom today. How did that play with the jury?
I plead the 5th.
So I think that was definitely a shocking part of today's testimony because it's something that the jurors had not heard in opening statements. So for the first time ever during this trial, they were hearing that Sean Combs went to that apartment and was banging on that door with a hammer trying to get into Cassie. Now, why is that so important? Because remember, you have that sex trafficking count by force, fraud, or coercion. Now, by Cassie saying, when she initially testified, that, look, when she was beaten, there was a freak-off happening inside of that hotel room and that there was a male escort that was there and that he was trying to drag her back in. Now, we fast forward to 30 minutes later, he's trying to get Cassie to come back. This just goes to show you that you also have a neutral witness coming in to testify as to the extremes that Sean Combs would take to try to get Cassie to come back to him and participate in these freak-offs.
Hey, freak man, yeah, that's me.
This was the 2016 hotel beating video that we've seen so often, so hard to watch.
And it absolutely will not stop.
Can't stop.
Ever.
Won't stop.
Ever.
So it's interesting, too, because then you heard from the friend testify today. 2018 is when that friendship ended. That's also when the relationship between Sean Combs and Cassie Ventura ended, right?
Yeah, so 2018 was a big year in terms for a lot of people, aside from Cassie, from Sean Combs, and also from the friend. But I think also remember that that's when finally that relationship came to an end between Cassie and Sean Combs, 2018.
So in court today, you heard from these 3 people close to Cassie Ventura, or at least 2 people close to Cassie Ventura, and then a third who was only on the stand for about 5 minutes. This was the assistant from Sean Combs.
Yes, so Mr. James was called closer to almost the time that they had to break for the day. Now, Mr. James came in and testified and said that he was one of the personal assistants for Sean Combs for about 2 years. And in his testimony where he started, one of the biggest moments so far is that he testified that he overheard a conversation where Sean Combs was telling someone, or someone was asking him, well, how's Kim Porter? She's okay. Well, how's Cassie? She's okay. She's right where I want her. She's young and moldable. Now, that is crucial because, again, when we're talking about sex trafficking, that force, fraud, or coercion. So this is the mindset, the intent that Sean Combs had, that he was able to mold Cassie.
You gotta know what you're doing.
Into who he wanted her to be and to do things that he wanted her to do.
Because over the hours of testimony we heard from Cassie Ventura last week, and the defense was trying to paint this as a consensual relationship and violent, but consensual. But the prosecution is trying to hammer home that charge of sex trafficking, which a lot of legal experts said may be a challenge. Now you're starting to get into some of that.
Exactly. So one thing that we know that this case is going to be 6 to 8 weeks long. So not one witness is going to make out all the charges here. So the prosecution is putting their case together piece by piece by piece. So Cassie gave us the background into who Sean Combs was during that 10 to 11 year relationship.
That nigga gay.
Now you have witnesses that are coming in to corroborate that testimony, because remember, when it comes to determining the credibility and believability of witnesses, is that you try to find what corroboration exists. For example, photographs of the injury to corroborate that she was physically assaulted. Other witnesses testifying as to what they also observed, so you're not just banking on what Cassie actually tells you. But this personal assistant, I'm curious to see, because the prosecutor is still trying to put together this criminal enterprise and the people that were part of this enterprise, that Sean Combs is the leader of this enterprise.
You see the baby oil and the knife. So let's talk about these two pieces of evidence here, because when this indictment first happened, we heard so much about the baby oil.
Yes.
How did that play with the jury? And then also this knife. What was the story behind the knife?
So the story about the knife, this is something that came up last week, that in terms of, there was one instant that Cassie was scared to the point when she was in her apartment, she actually put a knife by the door to kill two birds with one stone, right? To protect herself, and also to keep whoever's trying to come in from coming in. So that's why that knife was there. But in terms of the baby oil, so finally we got more insight and we got photographs of the actual baby oil, but we know the baby oil was part of the freak-offs, not that the baby oil was laced with any type of drugs. So that definitely rumor was cleared up.
Because that was floating around.
Yes, that rumor was cleared up. Look, the baby oil specifically was for the glistening effect supposedly Sean Combs liked for Cassie, as well as the male escort, to be glistening and shimmering with baby oil.
Again, graphic details that the jury's hearing. We expect also this case to get more in the weeds, if you will, because they're trying to prove this. What can we expect in the days and weeks to come?
Well, we're still waiting on victim number 2. So victim number 2 is Jane. She's testifying under a pseudonym.
That's suspicious.
So, as you know from the indictment, there are 2 main victims, that being Cassie and victim number 2, and that's going to be Jane. So we have to get into what happened with Jane, since she's charged on the indictment. So that's going to be a big moment. Jane, I'm sure, will be on the stand at least for 2 days to testify about what happened with her. We're also waiting to hear from Mia, who was an employee of Sean Combs, but also claims that she was assaulted by Sean Combs. We're also waiting to see, mom is going to testify, Cassie's mom is going to testify, and supposedly additional escorts are going to come in and testify.
Hey, bro, come on now, dog.
As to these freak-offs and how they cross state lines in order to try to get that sex trafficking.
Do we think Sean Combs will testify?
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, look, when it comes to whether a defendant will testify, only the defendant can make that decision. That is the decision that the judge puts on the defendant, and will have a colloquy with him to ask him whether he wants to testify. That is his own decision. Only he can make it. It's not up to his attorneys.
That is correct.
Personally, I wouldn't put Sean Combs to testify on the stand because you got to think that the prosecutor has terabytes of text messages, of information on computers, of the video surveillance from when they executed the search warrant. So it's an open book as to what he can be crossed on. And when you're being cross-examined, you can't raise your hand and try to tap out and say, attorney, stop the questioning. No, it's an open book. So
you a genius.
No, he's a wild card.
And a long way to go, Bernarda. Thanks for your
Yes,
perspective as
thank
well.
you.
All right, that's enough. You're the worst kind of scum on the face of the earth. You're an animal. A filthy, big-lipped beast. I'd like to congratulate the jury of your peers for reaching a verdict. 7 minutes is a new court record. All your possessions will be seized immediately by the court, and you will receive the mandatory minimum of life in prison. Plenty of time to lift weights and convert to Islam. Now get out of my sight, you